All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dinora Gonzalez, and I am the project manager of Dreamcatcher. This is basically a program that is it's a free business training program for Native American women entrepreneurs. We've been doing this with Tadler School of Global Management, that is also part of Arizona State University, and with our partners, which they are Freeport McMoran. So basically what we do is we do this training program for women in different communities. We do it for the Hualapai, the San Carlos Apache, the White Mountain Apache, the Navajo tribe, and also the Tohono O'odham. All these women that they always have the dream to start their own business, or they already have their own business, we give them basically the tools and the training to get it to the next level. We have right now today one of the first graduates, April, that she's been actually working with us along for many, many cohorts, and we're so glad that you're here, April. Please, if you can introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your experience and the program with Dreamcatcher and how well you're doing with your business.
Thank you, Dinora, and thank you, Project Dreamcatcher and Freeport McMoran for advocating and sponsoring different Native women business owner opportunities. Like Dinora said, I was a part of the first cohort, and also I'm a current consultant for Project Dreamcatcher. So I just wanted to share that, the organization and the funders, that they walk their talk. Gamun, Yamol, April Tinhorn, Xichke, Nyawabai, Wamui Chanam. Hello, I'm April Tinhorn, and I'm Hualapai, Navajo, and Chinese. For almost a decade now, I've been the owner and chief connector for Tinhorn. We started out in our early days as a web development company targeting Indian country, and since then, our scope has grown to really help ignite Indigenous connections. And we do that through our connecting services, our training, and our marketing. And just as probably many of you, with the COVID-19, it really threw a curve, right? And there's been this sort of like pause in business. And so we are really circling back to what we do best, and that's providing digital services. So I'm totally happy to be here and share from a Native woman business standpoint, sort of like a checklist. And by no means, first off, the caveat, I'm not a financial person, I'm not an attorney, but these are different resources that have come out of COVID-19 that have come across my feeds and the different circles that I'm a part of. And if you haven't started your checklist of like where are resources at for us as small business owners, I wanted to share that list with you from today, and it's changing. I think that's the consistent thing right now, is that change is always occurring. But I also like to look at it as a time of renewal for all of us, because how many of you have been just running in your business or running in your professional life, and like this is kind of like getting a get free or get out of jail free type card, because we all get to pause. And there's no negative repercussions from it because the whole world is on pause. So I really challenge you all to look at it as a time of renewal, whether, I think as business owners, we're always a person first. So I recommend that you take this time to take care of your basic needs, because I'm not hearing that in any of the webinars I'm on right now. And that to me is, please make sure you're getting rest. Please, please, please get your rest, because we can't make great decisions if we're not rested. And then take care of all your other basic needs, the shelter, the food, and just take, I guess for me, I have gratitude in that. we're still able, we are social, they say we're social distancing, but really we're physical distancing because we have the opportunity to connect right now. It's, I think of us as Native people that we've always, whatever the situation throws at us, you know, if it gives us some old flour, we're going to turn that into some yummy fry bread. And maybe that for some of us, that's our businesses. So that's another tip I would give is like look at your business now in what you're doing and the processes you already have in place and see how you might be able to just tweak one little thing that's of need right now. I was just on a call prior to this and they were saying that some painting companies, they're literally, you know, they have the spray guns for the painters. Well, there's not that huge of a need for that anymore, but there is for sanitation, right, of buildings, especially when we start coming back around. So painting services are switching out the paint and putting in, you know, sanitation fluid. And I think that gets my wheels turning of what I can do in my business as well. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop with you. Can everybody see a Word document that has COVID-19 business resources on it? Okay, I'm getting some affirmation from that. And so here we go. I figured just like Rod Tisdale said, show me the money. Let's start off with that in the business resources. So let's go ahead, and first thing I saw was Save Small Businesses. And so this is an initiative out of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, and it is grants. And so let's get a little participation here. What's the main difference between a grant and a loan? And you can unmute yourself. I'm looking at you, Derek, because I know you come from the financial world, even though you're not on video.
Good afternoon. Yes. The question is, what's the difference between a grant and a loan?
Mm-hmm.
Grant it's almost free money. There could be some stipulations behind it, but it's free money. A loan is where you set up terms and conditions and you pay back your lender based on terms and conditions and the interest rate. So
thank you, Derek.
there it is. Yeah. And hello, everybody. I was on mute, but I'm just curious as to what's taking place here. Like April, I've been on many different webinars trying to understand what we're dealing with. So, but thank you, April, for the question.
Yeah, and if you all aren't familiar, Derek Watchman, he's currently the chairman of the board, correct, of the National Center for American Indian Economic Development?
That is correct. We our primary business is consultation and services, but we hold our annual Reservation Economics Summit, and we just barely made it, you know, just before the COVID-19 virus kicked into overdrive. But our conference was the first week in March. So, but yes, we try to help, and so I've been on a bunch of calls as well. You know, obviously offering assistance, but also being a part of what's happening in DC, working with the National Congress and other groups, ensure like all the programs that I see that you have listed, April, making sure that we get more money for that. So, but anyhow, I'll stop there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Derek comes from the Diné Nation, and I'm glad you jumped on, surprise. And we also served together as a Grand Canyon Resort Corporation Board of Directors many moons ago. So with the Save Small Business grant, which is good, right, for us business owners, because if we're awarded it, we don't pay it back. And all the grants have different qualifications, and so that's where I'm like, I'm not an attorney, like you need to read all the fine print, but I can at least get you start the journey for you, and then you'll need to do your due diligence. So this one, pretty much if you have at least 3 employees, 3 to 20, it looks like you are eligible. So I will share this checklist as well with everybody. And next we have the COVID-19 resources for Native communities. And this this is a page, I believe, that's being updated pretty frequently. I think it just launched yesterday. It's with Roan Horse Consulting, and that's Vanessa Roan Horse's consulting in Albuquerque, who's part of Native Women Lead. So they have the resources broken down, I think, into 4 different sectors. So if this fits your needs, definitely suggest you look into it. There's direct support for grassroots organizations serving Native communities. There's nonprofit, grassroots, and academic institutions. So this may be you all, Thunderbird. We have a philanthropy portion and organizations providing support and coordination to New Mexico tribes. So like I said, they're based out of Albuquerque, so that makes sense. And I know they're plugged into a lot of philanthropies, so I definitely would keep an eye on that. There's also the small business relief grants, and this is through the Arizona Community Foundation. Oh, I guess I should say too, today is today's Thursday, April 16th, because literally I see daily some grants have already met their capacity and they close, but as of today, this one is available. And with this small business relief program, they have other qualifications. This one, I believe, is location dependent, and you have to be, I believe, in the Phoenix area, and your business needs to be in a low income census tract. And there's more guidelines here, but come and check it out. I'm actually going to be applying for this one because my business surprisingly is in a low income business tract. So it was one of the few I saw I was eligible for. For our reservation, our Northern Arizona based companies, there is the Change Labs, and they just, March 18th, they said, I believe I saw on Facebook, they said they were like totally revamping this, but they also have a list of COVID-19 information and toolkits. And they also have a microloan program available. So, and I know they have different criteria, but you may want to check their page out as well for microloans. We also have a Native Women Lead, and that's I believe a seven woman organization. They were about to have their 3rd summer conference for Native women business owners, but because of the pandemic, they went and canceled it. I was talking with one of the co-founders, and she said to keep checking back here because they're also doing microloans, but it hasn't launched yet. I just touched base right before the call. They have some good statistics here about us as Native women business owners, and they've done, I think, 1 or 2 surveys, and they've shared their results here. We also have Unsung Business, and oh man, maybe check back because it says the application is closed here, but they did have grant available, I think up to 10,000. So perhaps they may get more funding. And this is for women of color businesses. Okay. Another part of being a business owner is always, network, relationships. It's all about being connected, and that hasn't stopped in our pandemic times. If anything else, I think it's made those connections and relationships at least 3 times more important, because we can't just go to these gatherings in person. So we have to change the way that we connect. These are some of the places that I'm connecting with others online. They've actually been pretty active, the American Indian Chamber of Commerce of California, because I used to live in California, so I'm still on their list. And they've been having a call, they call it their Tribal Business Empowerment Webinar. And they've been having this town hall discussion. I think today was their 3rd weekly one. It kind of has been bouncing between Friday mornings and Thursday mornings. So I would definitely keep your eye listed here. Their president, Tracy Stanhoff, she's really connected to all of their corporate partners that you see here. And I've been on 2 of the calls so far, and they've been sharing different resources. Some of them are specific to California, but a lot of them are perhaps federal-wide or Native American business owner specific. It's always worth, this is a worthwhile call to jump on. I know one of their PTAC, the Procurement Technical Assistant Coordinator, Vanessa Gleach, when I was on the call the last time, she was talking about what the federal government is contracting for right now in the pandemic. So it was really interesting. You know, you expect to hear like medical equipment, right? Everything that's neat, gloves, sanitation wipes and stuff. But one thing that caught my ear was they were looking for call centers. And so, you know, I thought about back home for our tribal enterprise. We do have a call center. We have the Skywalk at Grand Canyon West, but it's closed down for safety reasons. But that's what I was talking about, really like stop and pivot and try to see what processes you have that are available that people need now. So perhaps the call center can help with these federal government contracts here. But just something to be aware of and be on the call. I think they've had Google representatives also on these calls. There's also local here. We have our American Indian Chamber of Commerce of Arizona. And I see that they're more active on their Facebook page and Instagram page than really updating the website. So I have that link on here too, if you want to connect with them here as well. Then we have, it's a Facebook group, the Native American Small Business Resource. And this is, I know they're a collaborative effort between, was it Native Women Lead? They had a listing of all their people. Here it is, Roan Horse Consulting, Native Women Lead, New Mexico Community Banks, Change Labs here in Arizona, Native Community Capital. And so they did a survey for businesses, and this may be news to some of you on the call. There was 100, it's a snapshot of their key findings from 110 Native-owned businesses. And of it, 66% who responded were women or two-spirits, and 71.3% advised that their business is the sole source of their income. And they asked, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Okay, and in the survey, they asked, what are the 3 biggest sources of personal stress to you as related to the COVID-19 pandemic? The first was, again, going back to our necessities, paying home and business rent or mortgage. The second was paying utilities. And the third was paying for groceries. So again, it goes back to just needs. Another question was, by what percentage do you anticipate your sales will decrease during the COVID-19 pandemic? And of those responded, they said 80%. Some said between 80 and 100. 31.9% advised they would take out a loan. 24.5% advised they consider applying for a loan, but they would need technical assistance. And I like that they listed 3 different ways that we can support Native-owned businesses. We can purchase from and hire Native-owned small businesses. We can promote Native-owned businesses online and through social media. We can consider donating to organizations who support Native-owned business growth. And it's the organizations that I mentioned earlier, they list here. It says, please check out these ongoing resources specific to Native Biz, and they give a URL. And then this is the actual Facebook group. So I've noticed that they have how many members? I think there's over 100 members in here right now. And different people are continuing to post. So it's a good space to be connected in. We also have Onaben. And to this day, I still don't know what the acronym Onaben stands for. Does anyone on the call know what it is? I'm actually one of their cohort programs right now. but they're an organization that also advocates for Native American businesses. And they're this coming Monday and Tuesday, they're offering online a complimentary training for small businesses. And I believe they just sent out the agenda. I saw that since I've been on the call, but I know they were partnering with, they have a relationship with GoDaddy. And so if you go, they have a program that's at no cost. It's all online. You have to do something like 8 modules. And once you get your certificate from this online, and it takes probably took a good 10 hours to go through it. But once you complete it, GoDaddy gives you access to certain resources. Like I think you get, I don't remember if you get free web hosting for a year. They have like 2 major packages once you have that certification, and it's good for 1 year, where if you wanted to do like an e-commerce online store, I believe they help you set it up, if not host it for you. And then I think the other package maybe had more social media type tools. And so this is at no cost. Definitely would encourage you to do it. I have my certification from them, but I haven't used it yet. We were told that the GoDaddy advisors are going to be on this webinar on Tuesday and Thursday. So I would definitely suggest you contact Onaben and see if you can register for that conference or that webinar, because it will be useful to your business. They have different cohorts that they help business owners with. So, and they have every Friday at, goodness, it's early because they're based now, I believe, in Oklahoma. But I think the coffee one is Coffee with Onaben, and it's like just where business owners can they'll have a topic, a speaker, but we also kind of mastermind. And someone has an issue, then we all kind of chime in and try to help out or point to different resources. And let's see. Next, we have Local First Arizona. I guess let me pause here and ask, has anyone on the call, have you had experience with any of the resources I've shared thus far? You want to share your experience, what's been useful? Okay. Oh, cool. I'm in the chat. So thanks, Lisa. She said Onaben stands for Our Native American Business Network. There we go. Trivia question solved. So with Local First, this is the page that has a lot of their COVID-19 information on there. So what I notice is it's a lot of stuff with restaurants local here to like Phoenix and perhaps Tucson. I don't have the exact link, but I believe they're providing grants to nonprofits, and there may be grants for businesses in here as well. But at the time I was putting this together, I couldn't find the direct link. We also have Native Women Entrepreneurs of Arizona, of which I'm one of the founding members. And we haven't been as active since the pandemic hit. There's a really good video. You can see it here where it's talking about some of the business owners, like these. I believe some of the business owners were over at Lower Antelope Canyon, and they talk about, you know, like when if they're going to be on a conference call, they only have enough power on their generator, where it's like the mechanic guys can use the generator, or like they can use the generator to be on phone calls. So I mean, that's real, you know. Showed the outhouse where they use the restroom. And then there's a couple, I think she's from White Mountain, and then there was a local Phoenix. She's a cleaning company, and I believe a retired Marine. We have Candace Hamana as well in PR. But the ladies are pretty active on here as well. So if you're not a part of Native Women Entrepreneurs of Arizona, it's an open group advocating for us as Arizona Native women business owners. So definitely suggest you join. We also have here you go. We have the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development, and they too have created a COVID-19 page with resources. So I know it's an impromptu, Derek, but would you like to share anything that would be of value to our Native women business owners on the call today?
Well, yeah, thank you. I guess a couple of things. One, the National Center has been around for 51 years, and so our primary focus is technical assistance, doing our Reservation Economic Summit. And in the last couple of years, through the efforts of our new president, CEO, Chris James, we've been trying to get back to some of the basics. And what I mean by that is, as you're pointing out, April, and what others are looking for is technical assistance, advice, and resources and connections. And so we implemented last year our Native Edge Institute, and in my opinion, that 1-day program. We've had 10 different sessions, has been very, very beneficial. In that we've been focusing and really painting a picture of how our Native businesses can get connected with the federal government for contracting opportunities. I think you mentioned that earlier, April. There is a process. It is lengthy. You can go at it, as a sole proprietor or have a business concern. A lot of companies are trying to convert their company into 8A company, and by becoming an 8A certified company, you get certain preferences, and in some cases, depending on how that particular agency structures the bid, if you're 8A owned, or if you're an 8A owned company, you could get priority preference and actually be sole sourced. And so basically what the National Center does is we try to provide as much technical assistance as possible through our Native Edge Institute. We also have nationally 5 procurement and technical assistance centers. And primarily those offices are, we have, I think, one in Denver, in Mesa, Washington, D.C., and Georgia. And those offices from the National Center are structured to help you get business with federal agencies. And so, bottom line, what we're trying to do, just like all of the organizations that you have listed, is we're trying to help businesses that are owned by natives and tribal-owned businesses to either get started up or to grow. Because at the end of the day, what one of our missions is that we say we mean business, and our objective is to improve the small business economy, improve revenue creation, and improve and increase jobs. And so that's pretty much a lot of work that we do. We also do a lot of advocacy. And so, as I'm the chairman of the board for the National Center, so I spend probably 4 or 5 days a month in DC, Washington, DC, either testifying or working with the agencies. One of my big goals in the last year has been trying to update and amend the Small Business Act for many reasons. I used to be a banker with Chase Bank for about a decade, and the Small Business Administration has a lot of programs, but unfortunately, especially on the access to capital side, there's too many restraints and restrictions. So, for example, if you want to get a loan from SBA, if you're on trust land, there's too many hurdles. And so if you look at their scorecard, the SBA lending on any country is almost zero. So I've been working on trying to open that up. The CARES Act did amend, if you look at it carefully, the CARES Act did amend the Small Business Administration to allow for expanded lending in the 7A lending arena. So we're going to continue with that fight, and that's to make it easier for Native Americans to tap into SBA resources, technical assistance, loans, and loan guarantees. We've been also trying to work with the Bureau of Indian Affairs to increase the money available for BI loan guarantees. And so depending on what size, I have my small business, Sagebrush Hill Group LLC, and my challenge, even though I come from a banking background, is just to get my company capitalized. And so my passion has been, how do we get more capital to Indian-owned businesses at all levels? And so that's a focus of mine. And I've been the chair for 5 years, and I think I have a couple more years. So that's my focus. And we consider ourselves a national group, and so I work a lot with the National Congress of American Indians, National Indian Gaming Association, the Native American Finance Officers Association, Native American Contractors. So, the list goes on and on. But what we've been trying to do for the National Center is to really emphasize collaboration and work together, because we have to be one, in order to effectively advocate for policies that will help businesses and small businesses either develop, grow, and prosper. And so in a nutshell, that's what the National Center does. And we have our website. There's, in addition to the COVID-19 website, we have other programs. And so I encourage you to continue to look at all these things, and you'll find something that will fit you. This COVID-19 pandemic has really opened my eyes just to all the different resources that are available, which I knew some of it, but there's so much out there, even with the issue that we're dealing with. And so it's kind of opened my eyes to things that are possible. As I'll end with one last thing. As the chairman of the board for the National Center, I've been working with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I'm on their National Diversity Council or team. And so the U.S. Chamber has been bringing together every other month, excuse me, I'll say minority, but all the minority chambers out from around the country, the Black, Hispanics, the Asians, Native Americans, and so forth. And so it's been a big eye opener working with the other chambers around the country. And so I'm glad, for example, I think it was on the top of your list, April, that $5,000 Save the Small Business Fund. And
Yes.
so my goal is to see how many natives can we get to apply for that. I think it opens up April 20th on Sunday or Monday. And so, but I'm encouraging the U.S. Chamber, to not forget and to help us focus on the Native American small business sector. It is vibrant, it is viable. And when I go to DC, sometimes we're forgotten, the Native American community. So, thanks, April, for giving me a little bit of time. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. And just so everyone on the call knows, I'm also a PTAC client of the National Center, and Joanne Nota is local here in Mesa, and she's Danae. She's my PTAC advisor, and like 2 days ago, she was helping me virtually like we're doing now, because my company was current in SAMS, which is a federal government database to be able to, bid on contracts, but I had let it lapse. And so she helped me walk through the system, and made sure, after multiple attempts on my own, with her help, I was then able to finally get my company back on, so that I can bid on all these different awards that are and will be coming out. And I know that's one of the services that they provide. And then also just from a PR perspective, for business owners here, I'd recommend you apply for the National Center's 40 Under 40 awards, because they're currently taking applications for that. I'm a past award recipient from a while back, and I can say that having that relationship with the National Center and I think there's over, what are we on? Is it like 12 classes now, Derek, of the 40 Under 40? I know there's over 100.
Yeah, no, we have 400. We'll be going on 440. We've been 10 years strong now. So
well, there you go. And it's a really good network to be a part of. And
very good.
The CEO or the executive director and CEO, Chris James of the National Center, He's been really supportive of my business, and I've been given a lot of opportunities at the RES conference. So I think that's a worthwhile program to put in for, is the Native National Center's 40 Under 40 program. So I'll plug that a little bit too. All right, let's keep it moving. We have here, so we're talking about assistance, as business owners, especially if you're like real small like me, one with a team of subcontractors, it can get kind of lonely, and you start needing someone to bounce ideas off of. And you can hire a business coach, but there's also a lot of resources available through our tax dollars. And so the National Center is one where you can have a PTAC advisor, and another one is through the Small Business Development Center. And they have 20 something locations in the state of Arizona. And I would definitely recommend getting a business, one of their technical advisors, because they're not called business coaches. But I've been really fortunate. The two that I've had, the first one, like, she pushed me big time, pushed me to start setting goals, and then she was connected in a lot of the different news sources and publications in Arizona. So she pushed me to get a lot of coverage, and she's helped me with that. And then my second business coach that I've been able to get through the SBDC she was all about finances. So she's helped me with, pricing and really getting my QuickBooks up to date. So they also offer workshops either at no cost or minimal costs. So I'd recommend, this is another great resource. And moving on to another section, and this will be, I believe, our last section of the presentation. I wanted to talk about opportunities now to learn and grow. So we've been having Eat, Learn, and Grow with Tinhorn, and it's something that's available to everybody. We're looking at it as a way for us to connect virtually during this time of physical distancing, where we can still learn, share tips, and then positively grow. So I wanted to give a shout out here. So tomorrow we're going to have Jonathan Clark, who's Apache, and he was in the Ukraine as a Peace Corps volunteer, and during COVID-19 he got evacuated. So he's going to share his story and talk about how he really leaned on his vitality and his identity during this time. So we have other sessions in here as well that are available. They've been recorded. It's just a gift back. Another organization I'd like to talk about is the National Association of Women Business Owners here in Phoenix. I would say they've shared, because they're a membership fee-based, but for the month of April, they said that all their programming is open to the public. So there's all sorts of training going on, like today, I think, we just missed it. It was the second part of email marketing, another way to virtually connect with people now, how to self-publish a book, and more. There's more offerings here. But what I have found is that this organization during the pandemic, some organizations that I'm a part of have gone dark, whereas I feel they've amped up 100% and have really been working to share resources that they know of. And it's a great group to be a part of. I'm in their mentorship program right now, and I'm getting a lot out of that. If you want any more information about that, definitely connect with me afterwards. There's also this Welcome to Women of Color, the eLab, and it's an incubator. I believe it's at no cost. This was a resource shared during our NABO session, and I believe that if you apply for the incubator program, which may or may not be similar to Project Dreamcatcher, but it says at the end of finishing their program, you get the opportunity to pitch for funding, and there is funding available. It doesn't say you'll get it, but there's funding available after you go through their program. So I thought that was interesting. We also have what we're on now, the Project Dreamcatcher Thursday webinar series. And I believe here's the website with the past class, and there's information about, I believe, so is the application still being taken, Denora?
The application is up, but we still, since we don't know the restrictions yet, we haven't determined if the cohort is going to be running, but so far the application is still there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people can apply, but it's just not sure if it's gonna when or if it's gonna happen.
That's correct.
Okay, so there's information here, and it'll be for how many more Thursdays? This webinar we put in our calendar?
We're basically going to be running every Thursday for the month of May until I think June.
Okay, so there you go. And I mentioned this one earlier, the Coffee with Onaben, and that's Fridays, I believe, at 10 a.m. Arizona time. I would use the Onaben link and email them to get the Zoom connection for that. And I just also wanted to, you can click through this when I get the checklist out, but when I was at our NABO April meeting, we were given these links, and one of them was this Bank of America PowerPoint, and it actually has the CDFI resources for, I believe, the SBA loans that are being made available during COVID-19. I know I saw in the news that the PPP, the PPP loan, I believe it's
Payroll Protection Program.
Thank you. Did you see that too? That they said they've already exhausted all the funds?
Yeah, I'm just reading an email from SBA. Yes, the PPP program is all tapped out. So
the biggest thing that I'd say with this is, as you saw, even that unsung businesses one, they're already closed April 13th. So we're 3 days shy and $1 late on that one, right? So definitely, this is for me as well as for you. We need to jump on and apply like now, because those aren't limitless buckets. They're gonna tap out soon. Although I did hear that even though the PPP is no longer available, that there's talks, but it's unofficial, about giving tax credits to businesses. I'm not sure though, but that's the word I heard. There's also, go ahead.
There's tax credits, and I'll get that information out.
Okay.
I was just looking at this. There's all kinds of stuff out there, but that you can take tax credits for certain amounts of your employee costs. So there's an information piece that came out from the IRS. So that's available to help you at the end of the year, so you get a tax credit for some of your employment costs. So it's kind of complicated, so I'm trying to understand it, but that's available.
Okay. Well, when we need to decipher it, Derek, I'm going to hit you back up, and then if you don't mind, I would share it with the group.
Yeah, please do, and I don't mind.
Okay, thank you. And so there's some other links about the disaster loan. McSally, she has a resource page here, and who else was it? Stanton. Stanton's been having some Facebook Live sessions for businesses as well. There's information for the Department of Health Service and economic security, unemployment, and if any, and I just thought I'd throw this one in. If any of you notice my logo here, if you use this branded background, it's free, so you can create your own as well. And then another tip we got that I'll share with you is if you go to this Help a Reporter. So if you know, it's basically whatever you're a subject matter expert in, you can go to this Help a Reporter and you kind of type in the different categories that you would, you know your stuff, and you can help. And apparently once you sign up with this, if a reporter has a question about like the business tax credits, and Derek had signed up, you have this like really short window where they're like, hey, I need a quote. And it's a good way to get some press and coverage for yourself and your business. So there's another resource there. I'd like to leave some time for any questions, but before I end, we are offering complimentary consultations, and this is my email address and my website. we can help you with something as simple as like websites. You know, with everybody, well, not everybody, but most people being physically distanced and not at work anymore, web traffic has just gone through the roof. So I would say take a look at your company or your organization's website, and if you don't think it represents your company to the fullest, let us know and we can help you out with that. And Dinora, definitely thank you for inviting and supporting a Wallapai woman-owned business, and Cindy and Miriam. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. Let's have a discussion. What's on your mind? Let's talk.
Well, thank you so much, April. This has been amazing. All the resources and the information is very valuable for whoever has like a small business out there. I have a question about the. Do you know how much is the money that the? Let me see. What was it? That you go through this program? I think the Women of Color in the e-learning hub. I think it was that one. When you mentioned that after you finish, you will get maybe some funding for your business.
I actually haven't gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a resource that Angela Garman from NABO, she shared, and so that was also, it's through that Shea Butter Foundation. It's the same one for unsung businesses, because I remember she said I think this was $10,000 grants, but
Mm-hmm.
they closed the window on that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the amount would be, but when I read the description for that e-learning hub, the incubator, it said you definitely, as a participant, you pitch for money, and that there was funding available, but it didn't disclose the amount.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that a lot of these resources are like tapping out, and if you find something, you need to apply right away, because then the window is so small right now that because everybody's just trying to find funding or a way to get loans and stuff like that. So it's important to have this information at hand and apply for, whatever you need and you can get your hands on right now, like you mentioned before.
Oh, now that we're talking, I totally forgot. There's another one with, I think, Indian Collective, because I was on their call. And so this one is, the COVID-19 Response Project, because they're giving out, this is where you can apply for funding. Yeah, and it's a grant too. So I think, here, and it has, no, eligible grants are between 5,000 for us as Indigenous entrepreneurs or artists. That hasn't opened up yet, but it's showing eligible grants for $5,000. 80 of them will be available, but there's also funding, and pass this on to your circles, there's funding available for Indigenous-led organizations, tribes, and individuals. So those grants are from 15,000 to 100,000, and those look to be available now.
Excellent. Is this the ndncollective.org?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is very helpful. And I'd like to ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest challenge for your small business now that this whole situation strike? I mean, what do you think is the biggest challenge, and how you've been able to kind of tackle this challenge?
I believe the most immediate challenge right now is whatever was like my business as usual, it doesn't apply anymore. And I also believe going forward, I've heard people share like, I can't wait till things just get back to normal. And I think if you have that type of mentality with your business is already dead, because whatever we're going to come into, it's not going to be what it was. And so that's an interesting question. As we were talking about, someone was asking like, okay, so how, what strategies and outreach techniques do you use with tribal clients? And I started talking, well, pre-pandemic, and I'm like, well, why am I even sharing this? Because it's not, I'm talking of the past, and I need to like assess today and to be able um, to adjust to what is. So I think that's the biggest. It's going to be like a mind shift for us as business owners. Whatever it was, it's not necessarily going to hold true in business moving forward. Um, I've heard that even for furloughed employees, you know, some are saying like, I can't wait for this all to be over with so I can go back to my job. And what I'm thinking is, are you sure your job even exists in what's coming forward? So I would say it's being prepared, and that's why connecting with people and organizations matters so much, because you it's on us. It's our responsibility to be informed of what's needed out there, and more importantly to be first to market at it. And I'd say you don't have to be perfect at what it is, but to just show that you're there, and that you're moving, you're, you know, continuously to move forward and have value in whatever that new economy is going to be, or better yet, help shape what it's going to be.
That is totally truth. Actually, Thunderbird has been going through so many changes, and one of the most important things that we are focusing right now is the fourth industrial revolution. So what it means is all businesses, they need to basically change their old thinking and try to get in the revolution of what is the digital revolution. And I think with this event, is going to be something that everybody has to do now. It's not a matter of like, when are we going to do it? It's already happening. And I think it's one of those things that Thunderbird faculty has been putting a lot of efforts, and it's one of those things that I think Thunderbird, they've been doing for the past 2 years. We've been actually shifting this way of thinking. So I think it's important that you brought that up. Well, thank you so much for all the information. I think it's very valuable. I think that you are amazing. And I think that you're going to do just fine with these changes, because I think that you're really good at like advancing and like seeing how everything needs to change and adapting. I think it's very important to have that mindset at this point. And thank you for sharing all these resources and having all these wonderful people sharing all this valuable information. And I want to open the floor if anybody has an additional question. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending and spending with us, and stay safe. And we'll see you next week, April. Thank you for having us again, and stay safe, everybody.
Yep, and come back next week, as I'll be sharing what your online brand is saying about you, like how it's speaking without saying a word. Because even though you haven't met your potential clients, they know something about you from your digital footprint. You know, your social media posts, your emails, especially now with people being online. So we want to present our best and most authentic foot forward. So we'll be talking about that next week.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. And please share this with other business owners who can benefit from it.
Great.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Eric. Thanks, Lisa, Cindy, Denora.
Thank you.
Some other folks. Miriam. Have a good Thursday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.